Hello, my name is Max. I am a film buff and a massive nerd, and somehow I have a girlfriend, and I make her watch stuff, and we're gonna review it.
Hi, I'm Celie. I am said girlfriend.
The titular girlfriend. And today we are going to be reviewing a little show called Hilda. Primarily a kids show, but it also has some very, very good themes that we will be discussing and some great shots and ideas. And Celie, what did you think about this show?
I loved Hilda. It's so up my alley. I love animated TV series, especially ones that are made for kids, but
Mhm.
have that undertone that appeals to adults and older kids like me.
Yeah.
Older kids.
I think one of the first things we bonded about was how much we both loved Gravity Falls, which is just an amazing show. And I specifically remember watching this show because the Gravity Falls had ended and it left a void in my life, and I needed more kids shows that are fun. So I watched like this and Steven Universe and a bunch of others, but this is truly something special.
Oh yeah, Hilda was great. I loved the animation style, especially
Mhm.
how they animated all the trolls. And I especially like the ones that are as big as mountains.
Yes, there are a wide variety of creatures in this fantasy world, and it's not outright with its fantasy. It kind of just drops you in and it expects you to understand through just contextual exposition. And that's what I love about this show, because you could watch it for a couple episodes and then just be like, oh yeah, this is a magical world where little elves that are invisible can just exist. So I don't know what to get started with, but I guess the topic of elves is a great thing because not only is it the first couple episodes, but it's also a great primer for what the whole series is going to be about. And I'll kind of just spoil that, which is how hard institutional change can be. So I don't know if you even remember the first couple episodes, kind of introducing Alpha or Alpho. What was his name?
Alpha.
Alpha.
Yeah, I remember that. And I found it a little crazy that you had to sign a contract to be able to see them, because wouldn't that mean all of their contracts have some sort of magical value to them that they're almost bound by without, choice?
I am assuming that every contract that they have is magical, but that is something I never even thought of, is how magical elves are in general. Did they get themselves invisible on purpose? Like, did they do some magic to get that?
I bet you they did, because they honestly, at first I thought that they were never going to get along with people and there was going to be a war.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like that might have already occurred in the past, and that's kind of why they are the way that they are now. And it's just
Nothing even close to that is discussed in the show, but I love that headcanon. That's officially what happened in my head.
yeah. I mean, well, my here's one of my just off the wall theories is that elves, since they are obviously magical in some way, that sometime in their distant past and history where they don't talk about it, there was this period where there were so many rogue elves just using their magic for either bad or chaos, and they seem so strictly organized with everything, meaning like they have so many contracts for every little thing that occurs.
Their
and
whole
I
character
assume,
point is contracts.
right, I'm just assuming that that has to be a reason for why they do that, is because before they were out of control and maybe
They're chaotic.
well, they did talk about a war between them and the what were they called?
The Lost Tribe?
Yeah, the Lost Tribe of Elves, where they fought over a specific plot of land, and then
And there was
they
a
ended up
contract
just not.
dispute.
Neither of them used it
Yeah.
after that whole thing.
No, I love everything about the elves and how by the book they are, and just like immediately you're introduced to a fantasy race, and we all know elves, but this is completely different. I'm not sure if this series takes Nordic inspiration, but it kind of feels like that, especially with the trolls, obviously. But I don't know if elves are even part of that mythology. I should look into it more. But
Well, I remember this knowledge is not based on actual research. This is just based on another movie I've seen. Because do you remember Eurovision, where I know they're not Nordic, they're Icelandic, but
Close enough.
but they have like that gnome thing where everybody believes that the gnomes are really there, and it kind of hinted that they were actually there because somebody got stabbed by one of them But I assume it might be something similar to that, where in their culture they do have things like that. It may not be the elves that we think of, like Will Ferrell. But it might be something similar to that, and maybe a little bit Americanized, so that we could comprehend it.
This is not the right touchstone to be talking about, but I read a lot of comics, and obviously I read some Thor, and there's elves in Thor comics, so maybe elves are...
I don't remember that in the movies.
No, he definitely faces a dark elf in the second movie, but no one remembers that movie, so...
Oh, was the elf tiny?
No.
Oh.
And he was not invisible.
Oh.
But yeah, back to Hilda elves.
Anyway.
Because I love how this whole theme, and we're kind of moving away from the contract disputes of elves, though that is the biggest point of all of their characters. The way that they seed the idea of someone in power, or not even in power, of a certain stature is going about their lives and affecting other people's lives without them realizing that. And the way that we can try to change that, or at least alter it for the better, I genuinely think is masterful in this show. And the way they do that in this episode, or these first two episodes, is Hilda doesn't realize that she's just walking through elf houses all the time because they're small and they're all over their yard. And by the end of that first two episodes, the massive troll stomps on Hilda's house, and you kind of comes full circle of realizing, yeah, we're all affecting everyone's lives, and we have to be careful about what we're doing.
Right. Because I remember also they were explaining it when Hilda was talking to, what was it, their king or their mayor or something, where whenever they would step in the house, it wouldn't necessarily like hurt them or ruin anything because they just phase through them. But they were just like, it's just really annoying, you know? It's really scary and annoying to have a giant
we don't like
foot
it
come through your roof when you're having dinner. And I'm like, well, yeah.
That makes sense.
But I mean, what would the size differences, like the elves, the humans, and the trolls, like the giant ones, just absent-mindedly like affecting them, would that equate to differences in like income translating to the real world? Would that be like the classes, or would that be
that's definitely
groups?
how
Like...
I interpreted it, like class system. If you are the big and powerful and you're stomping everywhere, you got to be careful where you stomp. Even though if we actually take that into real life, then we get into whole
don't look at real life too hard.
Yeah, that's why we like watching kid shows with simple themes.
No reality.
Yes,
reality free zone.
And honestly, I can't think of too much else to say about the elves, but in this whole first season of Hilda, it really does a good job of introducing us to not just a bunch of whole fantastical creatures, but just ideas and concepts, and just getting to know all of these different characters. I mean, I guess we can list them off. I don't know. Do you remember all of them?
I remember a lot of them. The trolls obviously stand out because they are very prominent throughout the whole thing, and a lot of people are scared of them because they think they're going to eat them. Yes. Which they don't have any proof of, actually. But I mean, but we're human beings, you know, come on.
We stomp everywhere, and we put bells on these trolls in this series.
Well, and Twig was, that's a deer fox. I mean, he's adorable and I want one.
It reminds me of The Last Airbender, where they just take two animals and stick them together.
Yeah, like monkey bat. Yeah, I don't know.
Turtle dove.
No, the lion turtle.
Not Adventure
That
was
Time.
awesome.
What
Adventure Time is something we got to talk about.
But I do remember you specifically said your favorite were the Nissa.
Yes.
Because of just the concept of what they can do and how they can do it. But apparently Nissa aren't the only ones that can. You just need one to show you to get to the nowhere space.
And honestly, I don't know if I love the Nissa themselves. It's just the idea of a nowhere space. And there's a bunch of other creatures. I liked the Thunderbird in the first season, but you're right. The Nissa, when I was explained to that by the show, like the whole concept of this creature existing in everyone's house, and it exists in this liminal space, like if there's a crack or the space behind your couch, it can transport between those spaces, and everything about that is just wild to me.
Well, right. And considering that, I mean, everything is magic, of course, but of course I'm going to think about physics or think about, like, you know, the world as I know it.
Yeah.
So does that mean that they shrink down to an unbelievably small size to fit in those spaces? Or are those specific spaces just a portal to a different dimension where they live?
My theories were one of those two, where it's either like a quantum realm scenario or it's a portal to another dimension. Either work.
Well, and then you get into the whole Ant-Man theory of shrinking too small to be able to actually breathe, because they don't wear suits.
Although there is the whole thing of, I don't know why I'm on this tangent, but if you did shrink that small, you yourself would become a black hole because you're shrinking too small.
Right.
So maybe the quantum realm wouldn't.
Well, that would mean you would retain the same like matter or mass and then just compress it. But it's magic. We don't need to know these things. It's magic.
Yeah. Honestly, if you say that something is magic, I immediately have more suspension of disbelief. Like for Ant-Man, they do specifically explain that his density stays the same, which means that if he grows, he should float up like a balloon. But
right, because there would that mean also that at some point you'd be able to walk right through him because
if he grew big enough,
spaced apart?
Yeah. Technically.
That's kind of gross.
Isn't
there like a 1 in a billion chance that you could actually pass your hand through a solid surface if you align the atoms correctly? I wonder if that's a possibility. Has anybody like actually tried to do that?
I'm guessing not.
For years and made it like a whole... I can see a mad scientist in the basement going, I know I can do it.
But I mean, wouldn't it be... I don't know why we're on this tangent. But
I don't know.
This is great. Wouldn't it be all of the atoms in your hand all have to be
right? That's why there's a
passing,
chance, but
like
it's
not
incredibly unlikely.
Well, I mean, the chance of one atom in your hand passing through is likely, but all of them.
Well, and also you could just fall through the earth if that were the case, right?
Yeah.
Or like all of a sudden just phase into the ground.
Go straight into the core of the earth.
Anyway. That's not anything about Hilda.
There's other introductions in season 1. We meet David and Frida. They're her friends.
And David always has a bug on him for no good reason. They don't explain it. They just go, "Oh, you got a bug on you." That was my best attempt at that accent. I'm sorry.
It was wonderful. I can't recall who plays David or Frida, but I should have mentioned earlier, Hilda herself is played by Bella Ramsey, which I don't know if you recall her at all, but she was in Game of Thrones for a little bit, but she is more famous as being Ellie from The Last of Us.
Oh my god, I didn't even recognize her. I didn't...
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, she voices Hilda.
What's her real accent?
I have no idea. Maybe she's British.
This is Robert Pattinson all over again for me. I watched Twilight. I go back and I watch it. It's not good, but it's nostalgic. And then I realize, oh my god, he's actually British. Like, yeah, he's not American. Maybe that's why it felt so weird. No, he was gross. Nobody hates Twilight more than Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson has gone on to do great things. Good Times, Batman.
The Batman. Oh
the Batman.
That was a depressing version of Batman, but damn, was it good.
It. Oh, it was great.
Anyway, we keep talking Hilda. About everything but Hilda.
I mean, we're kind of dancing around Hilda. We can move on to season 2 because I feel like that's where things get really serious. And we talked about Gravity Falls earlier, and that's really the comparison for me. Those of you who have watched Gravity Falls, season 1 is just about introducing the characters, the themes, the ideas, and just the whole fantasy world. You're world building every episode, and you're moving around a bunch. You're meeting new people. Season 2 is much more about making the world feel smaller, and not in a bad way at all. It's just connecting all of the characters that you already know and making everything concise. And if there was much more planned with the show, I feel like it may be rushed with that idea. But honestly, watching season 2, I thought that was the last that we would get of Hilda, and I was watching it as it came out, and it is spectacular.
Right. And well, Hilda's one of those things where you're never going to get answers for every single thing that you see in each of the episodes, in each of the time. Like, there's always something that's going to be left unanswered.
Right.
I mean, and that's okay, because I mean, Gravity Falls, I guess, wrapped it up quite a bit, but there's still a lot of things where you're like, hang on, wait, the season episode, no.
They left Bill Cipher out there. He's still alive.
That damn triangle man.
There was even theories that he had possessed Stan.
I could see that.
Yeah, no. We got to watch those theories afterwards.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like if something tried to possess Stan, they would get traumatized. I don't know what goes on in Stan's head, but it can't be good for the way that he is. It just can't be.
But anyway, Gravity Falls wrapped up nicely. Hilda did not wrap up nicely in season 2, and the reason why is because they have much more to go. There was a movie, there's season 3 coming out soon, but season 2, I specifically remember the episode where they're in the library and they are going further and further into secret room after secret room, and then they find out that the librarian who has been helping them the whole time is a witch, and the whole library is filled with like this coven of witches. And that, I feel like that's like a season 5 reveal that they set up, and maybe I'm thinking of like Steven Universe, but they set it up and seed it really, really carefully. But no, Hilda's not about that. There are plenty of teases to it in season 1. If we watch it again, you can see that librarian just totally being a witch and an awesome witchy witch. But I don't know how they did it so well, just dropping it in that this library is for witches.
Well, I think we also have to remember here that this show is technically made for kids, so you can't have like season 5 exposition back to season 1 and 2 and things, because kids aren't going to remember that.
You say that, but then Steven Universe exists.
Yeah, but that's another exception. It's like Adventure Time, and like those have some heavy lessons in them.
And the little kids watching have no idea. They're just, it's a funny dog that farts. No.
No.
But no, there's an apocalypse and the Lich.
Oh my gosh. And the whole backstory of like the concept of Finn being the last human, but he's not the last human. Sorry if that's a spoiler, humans. But I mean, come on, you should have seen all of Adventure Time by now.
Everyone knows Susan.
But Susan! She's basically a cyborg.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I don't know, she got the chip.
Well, back to Hilda.
Yes.
We will discuss Adventure Time another. This is gonna be the podcast of riffs about other things. But I mean, it all pertains to Hilda, because like we were saying, season 2 is where it becomes not just serious, but where we're introduced to a main antagonist, which is what the heck is his name?
Oh, you mean the security
head,
guy?
Yeah, the head of.
He's full of himself.
Yes, Alder. Alberson. Eric Alberg.
Yep. He's irritating. But I mean, you have to have a character like that. You have to have somebody to strongly dislike in a show full of likable characters. Otherwise, because you need that contrast.
You need someone to hate, and it is very quick to hate this guy.
Immediate. Instantaneous. Second he takes off his hat, and you see that shiner up there.
And he does such a good job of hiding it, too.
And
like, it wouldn't matter if he was cool with it, but no, he hides it.
Well, what's funny is all the times that the hat has just happened to come off and stuff are times when it is crucial to him that he appears to be this big, strong man leader, and then he gets his ass knocked out by something, knocked over, and then the hat comes off, and then all of a sudden he's this, like,
he's just a little baby, and he's terrified of everything.
Yeah, and he thinks this little bell in his hand is going to save him from all these trolls, when in reality he's just drawing attention from all these trolls.
And talking about Alberg, I love what they've done in the show, and how, like we were saying earlier, it's very quick to hate him and his whole ideology because he wants everyone to see him as the savior, as his father or grandfather who saved everyone from the trolls and built a wall around their city so that they would be safe forever. And he just wants to be like that. And the way this show demonstrates how easy it is for people like that to gain power and to gain this kind of movement and the people rooting for him, despite the fact that if, the people in the show are given just as much information as we are, and obviously the audience is given more information, but if they're given just as much information, then they can clearly see he's an idiot.
Well, I feel like... Okay. So, this is just ethics 101 philosophy, I don't know, but I feel like you don't have to be very smart or very, really any good at anything as long as you're charismatic. In the eyes of the general public, and it's not to say that everybody's stupid, but
no,
I mean you just have to be entertaining, pretty much. I mean, there are so many instances of people getting into power, and then only after they fucked everything up, you go, that was a bad idea. Why did we elect that person? And it goes, well, because he was a people person, or she. They can talk to people. They can entertain people. They can rally people together, and they go, I don't know what I'm fighting for, but I'm hyped.
They just say it straight. They say what the people want.
He's real because there's millions of him like that exist everywhere. But he has a god complex, but I feel like a lot of those complexes are based on a foundation of complete insecurity.
100%.
They're just I feel like Alberg is just trying to live up to his family name. He's just trying to continue the legacy, not because he's good at it, not because he's fearless, not because he has any real skill sets or talents that would be good for what he's trying to do, but I'm assuming his childhood was full of, you better live up to this, or you better carry the strong Alberg name.
And we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm sure season 3 of Hilda will get into that, because he's somewhat redeemed by the end of the movie.
Kind of.
Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
I mean, he did some stuff, but
yeah,
he was by no means the savior of the show.
No, and he has a lot of work to be redeemed, but I feel like that's the track that we're on in this show. Is there too much else to talk about in season 2? Anything you remember?
The only thing that we kind of graced over is the transition of Hilda and her mom moving to Trollberg itself, because that was a big... That was a very obvious,
upending of their lives.
Yeah, because and Hilda, she had this big open world around her, and then the elves knocked that back a bit because she had to be cautious of them. The trolls knocked that back a bit because they crushed their house. I mean, they destroyed it unintentionally. And then she moved to a city that was encased by literal walls. And she was struggling really hard with that at first, because she's used to being able to just roam around and have a very small circle of people around her.
Right.
And she goes to this place where everybody's there. She doesn't understand everything that they do, the customs. She doesn't understand the fact that not everybody knows everybody intimately. I mean, because, they're... Well, Woodman. He walked into their house
we forgot
all
about
the time.
Woodman. He's not even that important as far as the narrative goes, but he is incredibly creepy, and then he talks, and you're like, oh, okay, you're all right. But why didn't you walk in my house?
He always tries to push that nasty tea on everybody, just like dirt and twigs in a cup. And he goes, oh, that's my favorite. And I'm like, yeah, because you're made of wood. I don't know. Well... Could it be said that some of these creatures are meant to represent elemental beings too? Because wouldn't he be, I don't know, Earth? But then trolls would probably be Earth as well, right?
Because they turn to rock.
Yeah, and I would assume the deer foxes would be something of more like an ethereal type thing, like in the stars, because they literally go and live in the Aurora Borealis or something.
That's something we need to talk about for season 2.
Yes. And what are they called? Woofs?
Yeah, they're wafts or whatever.
Because they fly around. They're literal wolves that are shaped like just a big fluffy ball. And they just fly through the air. inexplicably.
I kind of like the idea that all of these fantastical creatures just exist, and it's just a fantasy world. Maybe it's inspired by some specific mythology, maybe it's not. It's just a bunch of weird creatures.
Yeah, but that's also really cool because it's just a fresh take on some things. I mean, obviously a lot of these things are representational for things that people can relate to, but
anytime they want to put in a metaphor, they do.
Oh, yeah, they do. But anyway, back to Hilda's moving.
Yes.
Well, but she also realized that she did want friends that weren't just animals and her mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because she found like-minded people, so to speak, but that brings in Frida and David.
Mm-hmm.
And David, the only guy in their little clique, is by far the most skittish.
Yeah, and he's a wuss.
Always
and
has
I love
a bug
him.
on him. Always has a bug on. I don't know why that floors me, and they don't explain it. He just has a bug on him all the time, and I don't understand. I don't know what that means. What does it mean?
I have no idea.
And then Frida,
bugs just like him. Yeah, Frida.
Having to be perfect.
Oh, I got so annoyed with her by the end of season 1 because her room wasn't being cleaned up by a ghost.
I know, and she was going, I can't even believe it. Like, what am I supposed to do? Clean my room? I'm like, yes. What do you mean? What do you mean? Am I supposed to clean my own room?
Yes, obviously.
I just make a absolute fuckery out of everything, and then all of a sudden it's clean in the morning. I thought it was the maids. No, like, okay, that's obviously she's obviously the privileged one.
Yes.
Of the group.
Though I do like Frida and her type A personality. She can be so stuck up.
Yeah, I feel like she was just raised that way because she even had a little bit of a waiver in there somewhere. I don't remember when she did, but it was when she was kind of letting out that she has a bunch of expectations on her by not only her parents, but everybody else that she, like her peers, her scout leader, her teachers, everybody expects her to be perfect. And she feels that pressure, which is kind of relatable to an extent. But I feel like she also is used to succeeding and being number one. Right. So if she's not, that knocks her back. Like it disassociates her from reality because she goes, I'm not number one.
And something that's even more relatable about her is the fact that a lot of that expectation and pressure is put on by herself, which I don't know about you, but I do that a lot. Yeah. Just expect myself to be perfect for no reason at all.
I know. Well, I mean, that's a fine line to tread. It borders between insanity and just humanity. Because at some point you have to realize that it's never going to be perfect no matter what you do.
But you should also expect something of your life.
Hold yourself to a reasonable expectation.
Right. Yeah, just try to keep it low.
Well, given her type A personality, I was so surprised that she took up magic. Yes. And being a witch. I was like, that seems like the thing that she would absolutely just debunk all the time. Like Princess Bubblegum debunking anything that has to do with magic. Like, no, science! And
you could actually explain all of the sparkly physics with this, so...
Rainbows are actually diffraction of light through moisture in the atmosphere. Shut up!
I just want to believe! I want to have fun!
I'll slap you with a rainbow.
Yes. How about
Stanley
that? We were just watching The Office.
Yeah, that's why. I quote things all the time anyway. But he's the movie buff, but I remember all the lines.
I can never remember anything. I just watch everything.
You remember all the important things. I just remember the one thing they said 20 years ago. And then I go, oh yeah, that'd be funny to bring up right now.
That's that. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
But Hilda... There are two things that I want to talk about for season 2 before we move on to the movie. And that is Twig and Hilda's relationship with her mother. Because they really bring that out and add dimensions to that in season 2. Of those two, what would you rather talk about first?
I feel like we should save Twig for the end of season 2 talking part. Because that one was emotional.
You know how much that broke me.
Yes, you were crying with me.
I cried hard. So much I got a headache.
And had to go to bed.
Yeah.
Early. but her relationship with her mom seemed near perfect for a long time, until it almost felt like Hilda started moving on from her relationship with her mom, like almost the cutting the apron strings. And I get that too, but Hilda also kind of, sneaked around everywhere. But her mom was always like waiting for her to like sit down and have dinner with them and like help her or play a game or do this and like just, spend quality time like they were used to doing when she was one of the only like people that she interacted with.
Right.
And now Hilda's got friends. She's got whole ass missions that she does by herself sometimes. And
she sneaks out.
She sneaks out. She lies about where she was because her version is, I don't want my mom to worry. But ultimately, her mom finds out everything anyway. And she just gets in trouble.
Because that's what moms do.
Yeah, and it's creating a wedge because they were... Like, and they were so good. And then
it's
Hilda
moving
had
to the
fucking
city.
Lie.
Yeah.
No.
And it was the way that moving to the city put this wedge in between them. And it's the way that they set that up. In season 1, you can kind of see it. Hilda's blowing off her mom. And in the moment, it's so easy to relate to Hilda and see her as just a likable, fun character. But if you take a step back, a lot of the actions she takes, especially when it comes to her mom, she is such a brat. And she can be annoying sometimes.
Right. And it never explains her dad. Like, they never say anything about whether he's alive, whether he's dead, whether she got a sperm donor. I don't know. But they don't say anything
They
about
have
it.
to get into that in season 3, right? Because that can be a whole emotional dynamic of Hilda not growing up with a father figure.
What if they're going to incorporate him? What if he's not dead and she just never talks about him because he left on an adventure? I don't know.
I don't know. That would be awesome. That'd be freaking sweet. Or maybe it's someone we've already seen.
I haven't seen anybody with blue hair.
Other
than Hilda.
Unless
she dyes her hair, but that doesn't say anything either.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, if we saw someone with blue hair, I feel like we would have caught on already.
Right, everybody else has a normal hair color except for Hilda, so I would assume she either dyes it or maybe her father isn't human. Maybe he's not human.
What if he's a troll? No.
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 I don't think that's the case, but...
Definitely not.
I don't know. I hope they get into that because I'm very curious about that because that would kind of, maybe explain some of the dynamics and like their past before we are introduced to them entirely. I mean, I assume father wasn't there from the get-go for Hilda, though. I assume he was just always gone because she never brings him up. She never talks about him. She doesn't have a sensitivity. She doesn't have daddy issues that I know of. That I know of. Yeah. I don't know, but it's really relatable, and her mom is trying to. I also don't see her mom like friending anybody.
No.
Like she grew up in Trollberg apparently because she talks about it all the time, but I don't see her mom socializing with anybody other than the Nissa that lives in their house. And
we could use a flashback episode explaining the mom and her story. Because why did she live out in nowhere?
Why did they end up in the middle of nowhere? That she had to have left for a reason. Maybe it's daddy.
I've never even asked why she was out living in the woods in the first place, but that is a very good question that this show could be just right from the get-go leaving this mystery box for the audience to understand it. I'm just like, well, I don't care.
Well, I mean, they throw in some nice distractions with all the mythical creatures and all that and the magic of it all, and
there's a giant troll that crushes their house in the first episode, and that's awesome.
I liked that episode. I liked that troll. I just the fact that he kept coming back going, I'm just waiting for my friend, for this person. She was there the whole time. She was just she became part of the earth
because she'd waited for so long.
And she was there the whole time, and then the one time that Hilda followed him and like bitch, explain why I'm seeing you every night, creep. But it was so wholesome, and then they had to I mean, they had to have seen that mother. I know he saw their house because he was there looking over the hill, over the mountain,
definitely for
decades apparently, like a long time. So it all. I know he's distracted because his lady came back, but he had, like, that was a very specific spot to step, and he had everywhere to step, so.
I don't know. But yeah, Twig. Him, there are more things that I thought about in season 2, but the next thing that we can talk about is Twig. And he has some foreshadowing before his whole episode where he just wants to go outside, he wants to be a part of the adventures, and they're not really letting him because they're just self-absorbed, which isn't the worst thing in the world because they're having fun. But Twig just wants to be a part of it. That made me really sad. And then Twig's episode came, and I wish they stuck through with what they were trying to do, but it still hurt me.
I know, cool. Because I was always wondering where Twig came from, and then they were talking about how rare it is to find a deer fox and to just see one at all.
Yeah.
But they ended up living, I don't know how
in
far.
the stars?
But, well, I mean, they gathered, like, not far away from Hilda's old house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were very close to, and I'm assuming that Hilda's house was at least very, like, close enough in proximity to Trollberg that somebody would have eventually had to see a deer fox.
Right.
But he's the only one, apparently. No. But...
Well, I mean, they've obviously seen them before because they know of them.
Yeah.
But
most from books, I assume. Yeah. I think that's what they said. But just the... Well, Twig is always an asset no matter what adventures they go on, it seems. Like, he's always... like, maybe the last resort for help.
Yeah.
But he always ends up helping, and he's obviously incredibly sentient and intelligent. Like, he's very aware.
I mean, he's a cartoon dog, so he has more intelligence than a regular...
He's a fox.
Yeah, he's not a dog. But he fulfills that cartoon dog role really well. Right. And he's, like you said, very intelligent. He's always catching on to what's going on, and I love it. And he's so adorable. And... in his episode, he has some dreams where it feels like he's in a box, and then he wakes up from his dream and he's in the house, and immediately I'm like, oh god, we're getting into this. I don't want to do this. And then throughout the episode, we find out that his people, like, every once in a while, I don't know when they migrate, but they go into the stars.
The void.
Yeah.
I don't... Yeah, they like walk on... like light. It looks like Aurora Borealis. Like they walk on that and they go, the way they showed it, it's just a bunch of like really thin light roads, and I'm like, do you guys just stand there
That's
the whole time until you come back? I mean, that is awesome, but what do you eat? How do you sleep? Like, what's this? How do you live day to day up there? and why they come back? Maybe they were only coming back for mating.
Yeah,
and
that could be it.
They lost their boy, so they're like coming back to try and find their boy, but because they obviously remembered who he was, like, and that shows a lot of kinship and like intelligence among his whole species because they recognized him.
And Twig left
because he saved Hilda.
Yeah, he left because he heard Hilda screaming, and he was just a little baby, and he wanted to go save her, and it wasn't necessarily him deciding to stay on Earth with Hilda, because I don't even know if he understood what he was doing at that point. He just heard Hilda crying and he wanted to help. And I'm getting emotional just talking about it because he, despite the fact that he may want to go back and live with his people in the stars, even when he gets that opportunity, he still goes back to stay with Hilda.
Well, that's the only family that he knew in his really early years. So, and because he's obviously been with those guys for a long time. Because just from when they were introduced to each other and they met, it's obviously been quite a few years. I'd say at least half a decade. And he's still very small compared to what he's supposed to look like, which is a full deer. And I wonder what their lifespan is. Like, what is their lifespan?
Right?
Because I don't know, they must age like people do. Cause
I wouldn't be surprised because they're intelligent.
Right. Well, and he bonded so strongly with Hilda, and then like his parents, technically he didn't really grow up with them. He doesn't know them as well. I mean, he knows them and he feels obviously safe with them and comfortable because he went with them for a little bit, a little while. And but then he decided to come back because, I mean, I probably would have too. I mean, it doesn't mean that he can't ever see them again, because they obviously come back sometimes.
Whenever the Northern Lights come back, he'll be able to go and see his people. But I also liked the idea of, in that episode, they were, at least for me, my interpretation was they were seeding the idea that Twig did not belong there. He should go with his people, and as much fun as he has with Hilda, he does not belong with her. And I think that's the idea that really got me emotional in that episode. And I say that I don't like it as much that they didn't stick by that idea, because by the end of the episode, Twig goes back and he chooses Hilda. But I like seeing Twig back. He's fun.
I love Twig. He's such a cute little thing. And, well, they were kind of leading up to the idea that he wasn't a part of the clique anymore, because they kept leaving him behind, or telling him to stay, or just completely ignoring him entirely. And I mean, they were leading up to that, so I mean, it made sense that we were like, oh, this is the end of Twig's journey with them, because he's realizing that Hilda's growing up and doesn't need his companionship as much anymore because she has human friends.
Right.
And so he decided to, follow his instinct, which was to, I assume, his migration instinct to where his family were coming back to. And but once he got out into the wild, where he's supposedly supposed to be like really good at that, because he's
a hunter.
He's not meant to be domesticated, but he gets out there and immediately he's getting fucked up left and right, and mostly by this one, what is it, a red wolf?
Yeah.
Or a fox? Is it a fox or a wolf? I'm assuming it's some kind of wolf.
I thought it was a wolf, just from the way that it was much bigger than Twig, but...
Yeah, and it's chasing him, but that also begs the question, that wolf must have been desperate, because if deer foxes don't necessarily go down on earth to hunt or walk around or anything, it wouldn't be a type of animal that wolf would hunt regularly, so he must be desperate. And he's the only one that we saw. Was he the same one as the one that attacked Hilda that he saved? Maybe? That Twig saved her from the first time, and that wolf has just been on his own. Is that Hilda's dad?
The wolf?
Yeah, the wolf. No,
the wolf is just out for vengeance. He's trying to kill Hilda.
I think that wolf is just alone and trying to...
The wolf story
is sad.
We'll have a flashback for the wolf.
He's just trying to survive, man. He don't have a cozy little house to go to. Maybe he can go live with Woodman.
He's trying
his best. But I don't know, because I was really sad at the thought that Twig would leave, but I was also like, oh, he can, be with his kind.
Yeah, this is where he belongs.
Right. But I guess just because he's born as a deer wolf, a deer fox,
a dire wolf,
whatever, the little white thing with antlers.
Yes.
Just because he was born like that doesn't necessarily mean that he inherently belongs anywhere without any kind of free will.
It's his decision, ultimately.
And he made that clear, because he chose to leave for a bit and then chose to come back.
Right.
So he has free will. Does anybody belong anywhere? Does Hilda belong in the woods and not in Trollberg? Or, do the Nissa even belong in nowhere, non-nowhere space, regular space, interacting with people? Well, apparently people are aware of the Nissa that live there. They're aware of it. And sometimes they get kicked out because they get a little kipey, they get a little klepto.
Yeah.
And they start taking shit that isn't theirs.
I guess.
I mean, if you don't rearrange your furniture every week, I guess they think it's an offering for them. I'm like, how about I leave you a bowl with your name on it, or just something that says Nissa? What are they all named again? It starts with a T.
Tom.
No.
I have no idea.
Well, whatever their name. Apparently, they're all named the same thing. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that episode, but I cannot picture the name at all.
It'll come to us at 3 a.m.
Yes, or right as soon as we finish recording. But a whole bunch of other stuff happens in season 2. A crazy weather lady Frankenstein's and Nissa together. Trying to remember other stuff. But the main thing that we need to talk about before we get to the movie is the fact that Hilda is switched out with another troll baby. And we have no idea why. This is a massive cliffhanger for season 2. Yeah. But she just goes to bed and she wakes up in a new area underneath a mountain in a cave, and she is a troll.
Well, and it was right as everything was like settling in, and she was like, I'm not going to leave my bed for a week. Instantly leaves. Not by her own free will.
Yeah. Is that right when she reconciles with her mom?
Yes.
Like, they were fighting
exactly
all season.
Right, and that's when she was finally getting, on good terms with everybody around her, and then all of a sudden she just swap Freaky Friday and switched with a troll, and all of a sudden she can actually understand the trolls and not just like they actually talk.
And I remember this cliffhanger. I don't recall the exact time that it took for the movie to come out, but it was a long time, and I was confused and angry, and I needed to see more.
Went through all the stages of grief.
Yep, all 5 stages, whereas I think we just went straight from the cliffhanger to the movie when we were watching it.
I didn't have to wait.
You didn't have to wait at all.
No, I didn't.
So what did you think of the movie?
I liked the movie. I was a little bit confused at first as to why that troll even swapped them. I was a little confused by that, because I'm like, you don't want your own child. You just saw this other girl and was like, okay, you're outdoorsy. I like you more. Like,
we can just my kid can swap places with your kid, right? That works. Like, no, you don't. You need to keep your kid.
That. And trolls have their own magic.
Yeah.
That's different from the witches and different from the other forms of magic. They have like their own magic that all of them just intuitively know how to conduct.
And I think that was slightly hinted at in the first 2 seasons, specifically season 2. But
and their fire's not hot. Yeah. So why do they all sit around it?
I have no idea. That doesn't make sense to me. Do they cook stuff with their fire? They can't, because it's not hot. They eat raw meat.
We watched it. They just eat random things.
Yeah.
They eat all the random things and collect random things.
Yeah, they like to put random things on their body as if they're hats or watches or something.
Like that one that put the Jorts bag on his head. He's like, can I finish that story? Thank you. And then fashion. Instant fashion. I'm like, okay.
I see you. There's also, this is something completely minor, but they have something that changes in an episode, or something major alters the status quo, and they keep it that way. And a very small example of that is in season 1, a troll steals a camera from someone and puts it on their arm. And for the rest of the show, even the movie, when you see that troll, he has a camera on his arm.
Yeah, he's identifiable.
Yeah.
Like, they give the trolls identities after a while, so you can recognize the same ones over and over again.
And there's one with 2 heads, and it's really mean, and that's like the only one that's vicious.
And then they finally stand up to that jerk.
And he's just like, oh, okay, I'll just go.
Submit. Yeah, I mean,
there's a whole... Like yeah, there's a whole structure to these trolls, and we really get into it in the movie.
And then we find out just how horrible bells are to them.
Yes.
Like, just how bad it is. Like, it would give anybody a migraine if they heard it the same way.
And the way that we see that is through Hilda's eyes, who is now a troll through troll magic.
It's debilitating, apparently.
Yeah. Like, the little bell is really annoying, and it would give her a migraine, but the big bell on the wall, it sent her flying back like 10 feet. Like, it is violent.
I wonder why they react that way. Like, why is it with all sounds or just specifically bells?
I should have looked it up, because troll mythology is very specific, so I guarantee you they probably got that bell from something, from some tale.
I assume. And there's also a mysterious bell tower underwater.
Yeah.
That they just kind of grace over. They use it. Now, obviously, what's his name? The guy that we were just Alberg. He knows it's there, and he rigged it and used it to do that. I'm like, that's a little overkill, don't you think? But what is that bell doing there in the first place? Don't they
specify that it was an old bell that sunk? Why did they have it in the ocean or lake or whatever it is? I have no idea.
Is it going to be significant in disproving his whole family bloodline and their legacy?
I guarantee you there is story to tell about the creation of Trollberg, and there are secrets there. I can almost guarantee it.
And the big, huge fact of the matter that we don't find out till the end of the movie is that Mama Troll is just laying underneath the whole city. And she's choosing to, so she doesn't ruin the city. She's chose to for decades, for centuries, to just exist there. She just wanted to be close to her kids. She just wanted to be close to all the trolls that she created.
And that's the whole story of basically season 1, 2, and the movie is all of these trolls are trying to get in the city, and it's getting worse and worse as time goes on, and people are asking why. And the reason is the mother of all trolls just laid down and a mountain grew on top of her because she sleeps for like 1,000 years. By the time she woke up, she realized that there was a village on top, and she was like, oh, okay, I'll just wait. And then she waited longer, and that village grew and grew, and then they built a wall around it, and that's Trollberg. And she could just sit up and destroy it all, but she's like, no, I don't want to kill all that people. I'll just let my subconscious affect all of these other trolls who are trying to see me because they miss me.
I want to see Mama Troll. I want to see what
her.
she looks like. I mean, all you have to do, I mean, that's a lot of cost and a lot of work, but... You could just evacuate Trollberg, have a plan so that she can at least attempt to keep the city put together. And then so she can get up and just live her fucking life. Like, I wouldn't want to lay under a bunch of dirt just because some person decided to pop a squat over where I was laying. You know,
it's completely ridiculous, the fact that the humans should not be living there. No. And this show is going to end with all of the population of Trollberg moving and letting the trolls have that town. Like that's how it has to end, right?
Well, I mean, you have to give the trolls their mom back. Well, they did implement Troll Day, which is an annual day when all the trolls are allowed to come into town and be in close proximity to their mom. Right. But I'd be like, why am I only seeing my own mother on your guys' terms because you decided to stay here? Like, I would be a little annoyed by that. I'd be like, I only get to see her once a year? I only get to come over here once a year?
That's a bit ridiculous. It's not enough.
Haven't we proved that we don't eat you guys?
Yeah. Like, it clearly is a nice step in the right direction, and it is a very good starting point to talk about institutional change and how hard it is, because all of the people living in Trollberg do not want to upend their lives as Hilda did in the first couple episodes, but they will have to because they're affecting other people's lives without them knowing it, and it's destroying their lives. These trolls just want to feel connected to their mother. That's all they want. And it's insane to me how well done this show as a whole does it, or even in the small moments where it's a small metaphor that reminds you of, oh yeah, it's really hard to change someone's mind, and especially if that person is creating a mob or just fitting in that mob mentality, and it's just amazing.
And given the fact that Hilda switched with that troll baby makes me wonder how often that's happened before. And how many trolls that are now adults were once human that were just traded.
I'd never considered it, but that, like, troll magic is very powerful, apparently. So that could very well have happened before.
Yeah, they did it with ease. Like, an average troll did it with ease. She wasn't in power. She wasn't, like...
No.
She wasn't any, like, a significant troll in trolldom.
No.
She just happened to go, oh, here we go.
Yeah, she wasn't even that gifted with magic, I think she was saying. She was just running from the bigger trolls, and she's on the lam, and she's like, oh, okay, I can do this, I guess. Like, it felt like an afterthought.
Well, it's just... I think she did it to protect her own baby.
Oh, 100%.
Because she didn't think that her baby would survive in the world that was outside of the walls.
And objectively, maybe the baby wouldn't have, but...
But, I mean, also, they very quickly and easily overthrew the big bully dude that was making everybody uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like, they all they had to do, like, he was outnumbered. All they had to do was collectively go, you know what, I'm tired of your shit. We're gonna beat you up and beat you to submission. And they did.
He may have had two heads, but he was still very much outnumbered.
Yeah, just knock his heads together. Like, I don't know what to say.
I don't know.
But, and also, the Mountain King.
Mm-hmm. That is something.
Well, and his eye. Why does he have a significant eye?
Okay.
Like Cyclops. Why is he so significant?
I have no idea, but that is something I really wanted to get into, is Trundle, who we're introduced to as his name up front, and you quickly caught on that he was the Mountain King.
Yeah.
I have no idea what troll lineage is like, because we know for a fact that there is one female troll that is assumingly massive that gave birth to everyone else, but there's also really big trolls and small trolls, and
well, yeah, and apparently the bigger trolls were like the OG trolls. Like they were the ones that were there for a long time. They kind of ran the place, and they were driven out by humans.
And they jumped into space.
Yeah, they just went boop, bye.
Yeah,
like,
which is
left.
insane.
They just left. It makes you wonder why they stepped on Hilda's house. I hate going back to that again, but because if they walked over it and stepped it a few more feet or a few more steps for them.
Yeah.
And launched themselves into space. I'm like, you couldn't have done that before you stepped on their house. Like
that would have been easy.
You could have just like not maybe done it over there where there's nobody.
I don't know.
But I guess that they had to move the plot forward of moving to Trollberg. They had to, and that was the best way to do it, I guess. But,
right. And it sends a good message because Hilda realizes what she was doing.
Yeah.
But back to the Mountain King, because he has a brother. There's a whole lineage there. I don't understand. The one thing I want to talk about is his eye. Because
why is that so...
I think his eye is just magical. Maybe the Mountain King infused his own eye with magic. I don't know. But I don't love the way it's used almost as a plot device, because that's what makes Hilda and even Alberg understand that the mother troll was living underneath Trollberg. I felt like there should have been some other way to reveal that information, but I liked it nonetheless.
Right. It puts a very mysterious object in front of you and doesn't explain it.
Yes.
Because she essentially got sucked into the eye when she was trying to get it in the first place.
Yep.
And she saw everything. And I'm like, I get that I see, but that information would be stored in the brain, would it not? But I guess it's magic.
Yeah, it's magic.
But and then that was the only way to convince I always forget his name.
Alberg.
God.
Eric Alberg.
He's so forgettable.
I will defend you.
Just so forgettable. No? But that was the only way to convince him. But his partner doubted him the whole time, but she couldn't say anything because she was just kind of...
What is her name?
Gerda?
Gerda.
Something
she's perfect.
Like
I think she's the head of security now.
She just wanted to be the cop. She just wanted to be the security guard that she is.
And she takes her job way too seriously. But you know what?
She's moral.
If you're a security guard, it's not the worst thing ever, or a policeman, to take your job really seriously.
Yeah, I mean, and all she wanted to do was protect people and do a good job. All he wanted to do was get glory and fame.
Yep.
And that's all he wanted. And she started seeing that, and she just couldn't do anything about it because he's the superior. So she couldn't do anything about it until the time came to where he made a judgment call saying, let's attack the trolls that came here, even though they weren't attacking first. And she goes, you know what? Nope, I'm not doing that. Hilda, take care of it.
And then Hilda grabbed the Mountain King's eye and shoved it into Alberg's head, and he saw the same vision, and immediately he's like, yeah, call this off. I need time to think.
Yeah, I mean, he changed his mind real quick after that.
I don't think he's fully changed his mind. We will probably see his arc in season 3, but I do like the way, although it is very contrived, like I said, using an eye to make him see a vision, but I do like the way that starts him on his journey for redemption.
Right. I wonder if it is actually redemption, because I wonder if he changed his mind not because he felt bad that their mom was under there, or because he got scared that she was there.
Yeah, I guarantee you that
I think it was because he got scared that she'd retaliate, and he knew he couldn't do anything about it. If all she has to do is sit up, and whole city gone.
I think because in his eyes, he wants to be the hero, and to be the hero, he has to kill all of the trolls. And he still probably wants to kill all the trolls, but he realized that if he hurts one, that mom is just going to sit up and kill every single human.
Well, he did hurt one. He killed the Mountain King. Yeah. He shot him with that thing.
And the Mountain King knew. That's why he let himself get hit.
Yeah, he just stood there and did it.
And it's perfect.
But do trolls die that way? Because do they He seemed, for somebody that was locked up for so long, he really quickly just gave up that freedom and let himself be destroyed.
I think...
And he seemed a little bit too self-centered to just willingly give up his life. In a sense, but...
I think that is the way that trolls die.
They just break like stone?
Or at least he did definitely die, because there was also another troll.
But his eye remains, is the thing. Because that eye obviously belongs to him. But his eye didn't get destroyed. It just,
maybe
it exists still. It's there.
His mother's magic?
Maybe it's his mother's eye. Because she's big.
That could be it.
Maybe it's his mother's eye. Maybe.
Or just like a booger.
Ew. Gross. Or maybe Mama Troll specifically gave him that eye and gave him a mission to protect them, and then he took it too far, so they had to lock him up in a jail of crystals and bells.
Loved that too. The wall of bells. And immediately you see that image and you're like, someone contracted that.
Somebody put that there for a goddamn reason. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I knew for a while, I questioned, because I was like, this definitely wasn't done by like the Trollberg police system, because all they were doing was tying little tiny bells to their noses. I doubt that they would do something like that.
That's smart.
Yeah, well, that's smart. And also that, like, extensive.
Yeah.
Just to keep one specific troll locked up. Also, I thought about that too, of why he wouldn't maybe just remove the bells himself, not only to trigger setting them off, but he's in an enclosed cave.
Yep.
So it would reverberate.
It would probably kill him.
Off of the walls to such an extent that it would collapse the mountain. And a space around him.
I wonder if they put him in that mountain with the crystals for reverberation. I never even thought of that.
I bet they did that for a reason, because if one of those bells were to go on, like just loud enough, I guarantee you that would hurt a lot, if not
especially
kill him.
Like even a big one, as big as the Mountain King was.
And it took me a while to realize that he didn't actually have an eye. I thought it was just a big brow, like a big eyebrow, and it was just a shut eye, shut the whole time because he didn't have an eye. I didn't know that. I think I
made that exact assumption where I was just like, oh, when he's given the eye, it's like, oh yeah, I guess he didn't have an eye earlier.
Yeah, didn't notice that. I didn't even think of it. I was just like, oh, you know what, that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
But I think coming soon is season 3, and while we've talked a whole lot of speculation about what we think is going to happen in season 3, I want to talk about if they end it with season 3, if that is it. What do you think they're going to do? And we talked about all the humans leaving Trollberg, but...
I feel like they're going to... I feel like if they're going to end it in season 3, the conclusion is Trollberg has got to move. Like, the people have to go so that Mom can be free. I feel that might be the case. But, I mean, I don't know. There's so many... Like, where would they go? Because we're not introduced to any other populations of people aside from Trollberg. So are they the only ones that exist? Is this an Attack on Titan thing where they were purposely put there?
And maybe it has to be written really, really well for this to happen. But maybe there is no antagonist. Maybe because, well, this is tough. Because I like the idea that in a kid's show, you teach the lesson that you cannot change everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Obviously, you should try for everyone. But at the end of the day, that's not going to work on one, or that's not going to work on everyone.
Maybe they're going to introduce a new antagonist, and it's going to be somebody from their past that we haven't known. Like maybe Hilda's father, and, you know, man who shall not be named. I don't know.
I don't know.
Or, you know, Alberg.
Eric Alberg.
I cannot get that name. I just can't.
You just got to say it like a hero.
Alberg.
Eric Alberg.
Everything's going to be all right. No.
Do you know why?
Because I'm here.
I wonder if anyone got that reference. If you did, you're awesome.
I'm not even gonna explain it. You're just gonna have to think.
If you knew, you knew.
If you know, you know. You know.
You know. But one thing that my brain immediately goes to is another show that discussed the exact theme, which is just how hard people are to change, which is Kipo, which Honestly, we could have an
Kipo.
episode about that, because that is another show that I made you watch.
Yes, Kipo was really good.
And Kipo is an example of a show with the exact same theme that is completely finished. So they've wrapped up all of those arcs, and they've demonstrated how, in their interpretation, in their own easy cartoon way, how to institute change at a whole systemic level.
Right. And they even showed once the majority allowed the trolls to enter Trollberg annually, there were still some people that would shut themselves in the house because they still didn't agree.
I loved the shot of the trolls walking through that street in the far background, and in the foreground you see a mom, or it's just a kid in a window, and then the mom comes up and like pushes the kid back inside and closes the window. Yeah. That is such a powerful shot right there.
Yeah, because it's basically just showing ignorance. Because the trolls, one, they never actually ate people. Right. Like,
they were
mean. People were the ones that antagonized them in the first place and
they were just
kept
fighting
them away.
Back and defending.
Yeah, they were just getting irritated by being bombarded with bells all the time. Especially when they started sounding them off hour by hour. Right. And then Hilda and them went to dismantle them. Because why would you? Not only would that annoy the trolls, it would annoy me if I lived there. Like, I don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night and go gong, like just because it's annoying. There's a whole wall there. There's a wall
that would wake me up, and I would hate it. And that we also forgot to mention that the worker at the bell tower. Yeah. I don't know his name, but he was cool. He was chill.
He seemed like he seems like he would be the one that knows all the tea about everybody. Yep. I mean, obviously there's the Rat King who knows all the rumors
he literally
and gossip
knows all the tea
in exchange for things. But I feel like he would be like the one that never talks about it. Yep. But he knows everything. Or his family does. He may have had a rivalry with Alberg's father or something, and that's why he's on bell watch duty, isolated away from everybody else. I don't know, maybe there's a history there.
I would like to see his character again, just because
he was like the mountain man. Yeah. Like the solo mountain man.
Him and Woodman, both, every time they were on screen, there was a certain, not necessarily mystery, but there was just a certain intuition about like, oh, there's something more going on with these guys.
Woodman is an enigma because he's there. He's just there. Right. Yet he has all this wisdom, but he also has all the books about it. Where did he come from? I don't know if there is more of him. I don't know why
is he the last of his kind? Is he a freak of nature?
Right. Well, the episode where he went out to sea, like out in the ocean, and Hilda tagged along because there were these. What were they called? Phantoms? Or what were
dreadnoughts?
Something like that, where they're ghosts that are out at sea and doomed to spend eternity at sea on their boat. And I forget why he went out there. He wanted to steal something of theirs.
Didn't he have
a sexton or something like that?
Yes.
Wasn't it a sexton?
I think he would just had a yacht because he'd won it in a game of cards, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go get this compass or sextant or whatever.
Yeah, he wanted it. He didn't have a reason. He just goes, I want things. I like to keep things on my mantle. He just wanted them, and can we talk about how the ghosts are drawn? I love it because they don't have their entire skeleton. They just have enough to define where their important parts are, like their face and
maybe
stuff.
They all have faces, but maybe one has a hand and one has a rib cage and one has a leg.
Yeah, why do they keep those? And they obviously have a choice of keeping them. They just go, I want this specific part.
Oh my god. And probably the funniest shot in this whole show is a ghost phases through a wall, but his skeleton smacks against it.
That was Frida's ghost, right?
Yes.
That was hilarious. So he obviously doesn't need the skeleton. Yeah. They obviously don't need that. They just keep it there.
And I don't think I've ever seen the imagery of a ghost with its skeleton.
Yeah, maybe it's the one thing that ties them to Earth.
I could see that.
Because it was part of their physical self. So maybe, I don't know. But that was hilarious. And the fact that all Frida had was a book that ghost guy read, and he was like, oh, just because I come in here and read it, I'm going to clean your entire room for me. I'm like, that is not equal.
Yeah.
Just take the book. It's not equal.
And the way that Frida's just expected that now. And when she finds out, she's like, well, he should clean it anyway.
No.
Okay.
And then he had to wrestle. They all had to wrestle a ghost to get it back. And I'm like, How is that fair? Like, how is that fair? I'm basically a meat suit, and you are just a complete, like, a phantom. Like, you can phase through me at any point. And they did.
Right.
They cheated. And
yeah. And that didn't even work. They didn't get the right book.
No, and apparently that's how they solve things in the ghost world. I'm like, you just wrestle each other. Y'all are bored.
Is that what everyone does after they're dead? Is just wrestle? Because I don't want to die anymay, but I don't want to do that.
No, I'm going to be laying down going, yeah, go.
You guys got it.
I lived my life. I don't want anymore.
Well, I can't think of too much else to mention, though. One thing we didn't talk about is just the animation in general, and we talked about the style. I like how everyone is kind of silhouetted with this black line. A lot of DC animated movies, at least the recent ones, have that, and I like it. Sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes it's fun. Just depends on what they do with animation, and they step up, especially in the movie. There's a sequence in season 1 where Nisa is being chased or is chasing a wolf.
Nissa?
Yeah, Nissa, whatever. Niffler, whatever the heck it is.
Nissa.
But it's just going from one portal to another. That's one of my favorite shots.
Oh, yeah, and it turns out that wolf was just one Nissa's pet that had grown like Clifford size.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. But yeah, this show, phenomenal. We spoiled all of it, but still, go watch it. Please have a fun time.
Also, yeah, I mean, and I guess out of 5 brownie points that it will get you, I would give it 5 because I enjoyed
all 5.
It. Yeah, I would enjoy it. I just liked it a lot.
I got a lot of brownie points, I guess. Sweet.
You got 5 so far. We'll see.
we'll see you next time for this show
that we have yet to name.